In our last segment, we discussed why the Jewish community has had such a large impact and a positive impact on the world, even though it's such a tiny minority. There are countless examples of incredible ways that the Jewish people have been a, quote, light unto the nations, end quote. And sadly, we can't really mention them all here, so we'll just go over a few very important ones. Many of you may have heard the term Silicon Wadi, the Arabic or Hebrew word for valley. Israel has become a hub for international technology and Israeli startup companies. This tech hub has grown from its infancy in the 1960s until today, where it has become home to many of the latest technologies like instant messaging and autonomous vehicles. Companies like Google, IBM, Intel, and Motorola have opened facilities in Israel in order to take advantage of the incredible talent that Israel has to offer. Many of the newest technologies in the world today have begun in Israel. For instance, in the medical field, the Israeli innovated PillCam, a disposable camera the size of a pill that is much less invasive than traditional ways to find colorectal issues. The user simply swallows the pill and it provides the doctors all of the information they need. Israel is also behind the innovation of a fingertip monitor that can pinpoint people at risk of major cardiac events or even diagnose sleeping disorders. However, no one beats Israel in the green technology field. It is a natural fit for the Jewish people living in a desert climate. Israel is on the forefront of solar technologies, including technologies to cheaply and efficiently clean solar panels to improve their efficiencies. But most of all, the country who has little access to water, Israel has exported their drip irrigation technologies that improves water usage by over 90%. This can help those countries who are also struggling with their access to water. Israel is also on the forefront of water desalination technologies. This allows for countries without access to fresh drinking water to access the otherwise unusable water from the sea, remove the salt, and make it drinkable. However, this wasn't enough for the Israelis, who went one step further and created a system that allows those who do not have access to seawater the ability to create drinkable water. The latest technology from WaterGen, an Israeli company that takes water in the air, typically referred to as humidity, and transforms it to filter drinking water. This technology is already being used in various desert areas around the world, but is being used in First Nations areas where drinking water is not safe. Coupling this technology with Israeli solar panels can allow for indefinite access to clean water, even in the remotest areas. One of the last and most important places that Israel has shown itself to be leading the world is in foreign aid and support to those countries in need after natural disasters. An organization called Israel Aid has teams that head to natural disaster areas to provide medical support to local communities. Their mission statement says, "Our mission is to support people affected by humanitarian crises. We partner with local communities around the world to provide urgent aid, assist in recovery, and reduce the risk of future disasters." This included helping developing early warning systems for tsunamis in Asia. Israel is often the first people to be on the ground in a natural disaster area in order to help the local populations. In a talk that I had with an Israel Aid member, sadly I heard that they have to sometimes hide the fact that they're Israeli, depending on where they are in the world, because sadly some people will not accept the help from Jews. Instead, they're often having to use locals or find Israelis who speak Arabic in order to help those people who refuse to take help from Israel due to the geopolitical discrimination. In the end, we can see that the Jewish community has impacted the world well beyond its small numbers suggest it should. Was this always the plan for the Jewish people? How is it that such a tiny community then and now has had such a big impact on this vast world, technologically, medically, all of these things we've discussed? Even though the Jewish people have long considered themselves to be a chosen people and a light unto the nations, this is not an idea of supremacy, but one of responsibility. In spite of the anti-Semitism and persecution over the many generations, the Jewish people have never stopped trying to repair the world for all of its inhabitants. On this Shavuot, we remember the responsibility to look for ways to be a light unto the nations and to help those around us in any way that we can. We can be role models in our community, we can give back to those in need, and we can definitely not stand by as we see social injustices happening. This has been another episode of the Jewish Diaspora Report. Don't forget to check us out on social media at jdr.podcast and check out some of our other episodes on your favorite podcast source. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.